Welcome to My Psychedelic Roots, a podcast of conversations with people from a broad swath of lived experience to explore their psychedelic beginnings or roots. What led them to start using psychedelics, what those early experiences were like, and how those roots have impacted their life's unfolding. My name is Amy Bartlett, and it is my hope that these stories, generously shared by my guests, offer perspective and insight into the lived reality of psychedelic experiencing. So whoever, wherever, or whenever you are, welcome. I'm glad you're here. In today's episode, I sit down with my colleague Manzar Zare, who is a fourth-year PhD candidate in experimental psychology at the University of Ottawa. Under the supervision of Dr. Monica Williams, she conducts research on psychedelics and the mental health of people of color, particularly Muslim women, and she is currently working on a study on Muslim women and psychedelics. As we will hear in this episode, this research work played a big role in her decision to have her own experience with psychedelics, which was a decision that she came to after years of curiosity, exploration, and reconciliation with her own sense of self and truth. This decision also came out of her experience of becoming a mother and navigating her own mental health struggles with postpartum depression. In my experience of Manzar as a colleague and a friend, she is someone who embodies thoughtfulness, both in her caring for the lived experience of others and in her desire to explore and understand the human experience with her whole mind, body, and spirit. I was so pleased to have the opportunity to sit down with her to hear about her recent first experience with psychedelics, and I am grateful for the generosity and wisdom she shares in our chat together. And so, let's hear more about Manzar's psychedelic roots. Welcome, Manzar. So lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much, Amy. I'm glad that I'm participating in your research and work. And I think it's a very important topic for a podcast. And I hope that my story is helpful for people who are listening to it.
I'm sure. And I'm excited to hear your story as well today. So I'm curious, how would you like to introduce yourself and what your life looks like today, how you enjoy spending your time, what's important to you when it comes to your story about psychedelics?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So my name is Manzar. I'm a fourth-year doctoral student at the experimental psychology at the University of Ottawa. I'm currently actually working on psychedelic and how they can help people of color to heal from racial trauma and other mental health conditions. But specifically, I focus on Muslim women and their experiences with psychedelics because I feel like this is like Muslim women face discrimination because of their identity based on their gender, religion, and race. So that's why I was focused on this group, and also because of my lived experience as a Muslim woman myself. So this is what I do right now, and this is actually how I was introduced to psychedelic world and how I first experienced psychedelics.
So a direct connection. That's really cool.
Mhm.
Cool. So let's jump in a little bit and talk about how you came to this field. So, we like to start the conversation by thinking and going back into our childhoods, because often what we experience in waking consciousness as a child and growing up has a lot to do with our curiosity about altered states of consciousness or about the psychedelic space. So I'm curious if there was a thread that we could trace from your childhood to your first psychedelic experience, what might that thread be?
Yeah, so I think I've always been an observer. And I think that's something that defined me from childhood to now that I'm doing my research on psychedelics. So I have this first video of my childhood is actually me, and I'm 7 months old, and I'm just laying down and playing and just seeing. I'm in my uncle's home, and my aunt is feeding me. And I also it was very interesting for me, this video, and, actually during my first journey, I felt like I'm that child again, and I can see the world through her eyes. My aunt who, was feeding me, I felt like she was an ancestral figure. She was the someone from the past who I knew, someone from like the Mother Earth, or because I was in Jamaica, and a beautiful, kind black woman was beside me when I was going through that journey and holding my hand. And I was looking at her and I was reminding of that experience that I had as a child. And I felt like this is the same situation, except that that person is someone from my ancestors, or from where I come from.
Mhm.
And it was comforting for me. And I was observing this and I felt like, okay, I like that, and I like to continue my journey of observing and understanding within this comfort,
That's
within
beautiful.
the safety of being with that person in that environment, if that makes sense.
I love that. No, I think that's really well put. When I think about being an observer and witnessing, often I think about the aloneness of that.
Mm,
Observing can be a very solitary experience because it's through your eyes. It's ultimately your observation and your interpretation. It's really
mm,
beautiful to think about observing and
mhm,
being accompanied and supported and cared for
mhm.
in that experience.
Yeah, and what you said reminded me of how I felt during my childhood, that I like to observe and as a student. And that's why I chose law to continue like my education, and after that psychology, because I thought that I can't be an observer from outside and help people to go through a stuff, and like to deal with their problems, their conflicts, whatever they are going through. So that was the main reason that I decided to follow this path of learning more about psychology and also psychedelics, because I could see that I felt like I am an outsider, but I can observe and I can help people in their journeys.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. But yes, this is reassuring that I could feel I'm not alone, that there's someone who is comforting me, and just it's there for
Mhm.
me in that moment, and supporting me in my journey.
That's so beautiful. And psychedelic journeying often also includes a spiritual experience or can often intersect with spiritual dimensions. And I'm curious, what was your relationship to spirituality as a child?
That's a very good question. So I'm a Muslim woman, but I always felt that I'm very open to new perspectives and new, how should I put this? New words of other people, new, like the truth of other people, other faiths, even other cultures. I was interested to learn more, and I felt like there is some truth within everyone and everything that makes them special, but also helps us as a whole to proceed in our journey as human beings towards something more.
Yeah.
And so yes, I was a Muslim woman, but I was interested in knowing more about Sufism. So Sufism is
Mm.
a spiritual sect within Islam who believe in a more pure connection with God. So they go through some traditions and practices like praying, zikr, or other types of practices to reach the altered state of consciousness and reach what is called fana, which is something similar to ego death.
Mm.
And then after that, the actual journey begins. Actual journey to become one with the creator, with God. And it goes through love, it goes through other levels, other steps there are within this journey. And in Persian poetry, there are different stories. There are many stories of how to go through this journey, how Sufis like went through this journey, how they experienced the world and their perspectives. So I was very familiar with the concept, but I didn't know if there are any psychedelics or plant medicine that they use. It wasn't very. They didn't talk about this, about using external substances to help them in the journey. It was more about rituals, about
Mhm.
practices. So yeah, I was kind of familiar with the spirituality in a way that is different from acquiring it from psychedelics.
Mm. I like how you described your relationship to spirituality as one of openness and curiosity, and thinking about that in conjunction with your propensity to observe. It feels like there's no judgment in the observation. There's that openness and curiosity and wanting to know more,
Hmm. Exactly.
to
Yes.
appreciate rather than to.
Exactly.
Mm.
And I've been told that it's not a good habit because you have to like choose side. You have to be somewhere. And I was always in between. I wanted to be someone that just listen and just without judging. And it's difficult. I don't say that it's always easy for me, but I try my best to just listen every theory, even if I don't feel like that's right, or even if it's not okay within my faith, uh, or it contradicts what I believe. But yeah, I feel like if their story is not my story, there's something in that that can help again us as human beings to
Mhm.
become one and to reach a higher purpose.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool, Menzar. And then so, you had this childhood propensity towards observation, and you had these spiritual questions and explorations around Sufism, but around, a lot of different traditions. And you had a curiosity around if these paths and if these stories had external help from a plant teacher or from other
Mhm.
places. I'm curious, on that note and in that vein, did you grow up in an environment where psychedelics were discussed, or was there any sort of, either positively or negatively? Were they something mysterious, exciting, or were they just not talked about? Were they dangerous? How did people talk about them, or how did you understand them?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, I remember in a school there were like courses on how psychedelics are dangerous and how they can be harmful for you. So they tried to teach us to avoid them because they can harm you or others. I didn't even believe that when I first heard that they can be this magical and healing for people. Yeah, I never connected. I never see a connection between Sufism and spirituality and psychedelics. I didn't even know that there is a connection. And I was just before I learned about psychedelics and their potentials, I was into near death experiences,
Mm.
or known as NDEs, and I learned about how spiritual and fascinating some of the stories of the people who experience NDEs were. So I was very curious to know if there is another way to experience this kind of
Mhm.
world without dying, actually. So that was interesting for me when I was doing my research on psychedelics and learned that actually there are lots of similarities between psychedelics and NDEs. So
Mhm.
this was another point for me that I was convinced that there is some truth within psychedelics, some healing potentials that can be used by people like for therapeutic purposes and
Mhm.
therapeutic spaces. So yeah, it was another important point within my psychedelic
Mhm.
journey before even experiencing them.
Mhm. You and I have talked about this a little bit, so I don't know how or if it fits in, but one of the plants that is sometimes used in Muslim communities is Harmel or Syrian rue. I'm curious if that played a role in this curiosity and moving towards a psychedelic experience or not.
Yes, so the first type of research that I did when I was curious about psychedelics was that if there are a trace of psychedelic within every community and every country, every place in the world, there should be something within like Muslim countries also, or the area at least, even if they didn't use it, which I didn't believe because if it was local to that area, they were familiar with that plant and they should have used it as some kind of medicine or maybe for other purposes. So I was curious to learn more about and to find a local plant that was familiar to Muslim people. I looked into Sufism and the literature surrounding Sufism and Islam also. And it was very difficult to find anything, I think, because of the stigma surround psychedelics within Muslim communities because many believe that psychedelics are considered intoxicant and so they're not permitted within Islam. But I could find vague mention of some kind of plant that is sacred to some of the Sufis that they've used it or they were talking to the plant or they were using its guidance. So many believe that this might be the Syrian rue or as we call it Esfand in Iran. So that's what ignited my enthusiasm for continuing the work because we use Syrian rue as a disinfectant, this herb. So we use it against like the evil eye.
Mhm.
But we don't know, many Persian people, many Iranians don't know that it's actually a psychoactive plant. And I was talking to many people and I asked them, do you know that Esfand is a psychoactive plant? And it told me no. They were like very interested to know more, of course, because we use it every day in weddings, in funerals, in every day, every morning, just to purify the air, or just because it smells good. And I was hopeful because it's something, the Syrian rulers fan is something that people are familiar with, and it's well known within Iranian plateau and many other countries in that area. If we are going to make peace between Muslim people and psychedelics, maybe we should use something like that because it's already is familiar and it's popular.
Yes. And
Mhm.
I'm fascinated by that connection that you found and your explorations with it. Your research is so interesting.
Thank you.
So you were exploring different overlaps, different connections, understanding the different plants and cultural uses, spiritual pieces. When did you start wanting to have your own experience? And when did this move from theory and curiosity into a personal question for you?
Yeah, that's a very good question because at the beginning I was very hesitant to try psychedelics because of the problem of intoxication or the dilemma surrounding that. I did my research and I actually came across a piece of work that I was reviewing, and they compared psychedelic effects with those of alcohol and other intoxicants like I think cocaine. And they said that the underlying mechanism of effect is very different in these substances. So we can't really say that psychedelics are intoxicant. And also, I knew that in Islam, if something, even a prohibited substance, is being used as medicine or for therapeutic purposes, it is permitted because it's a matter of life and death or even for mental health, I think we can say it's very important. So if there's no other answer or no other approach, therapeutic approach to help you heal from a mental health condition, so in that case, even in Islam, it's considered permitted.
Mm.
So, but after that, I wasn't looking for experiences psychedelic as for recreational purposes. But after giving birth to my first child, I was going through postpartum depression and anxiety. So I felt like there is something different within me, that I didn't enjoy life as much as I used to. I was suffering. I was thinking maybe psychedelic is the answer for me at this moment. I've known this substance for many years now. I've done my research, and in those days, I received an email from my supervisor who shared an opportunity for doing a field research in Jamaica. And I was also initiating my third phase of my thesis, where I was wanted to interview Muslim women about their experiences with psychedelics. And I thought, okay, maybe I should have some kind of first-hand experience before going with the interviews. So all these thoughts just led me to go ahead and sign up for that field trip. And I'm glad I did. It was very unique and very interesting experience. I went alone after like 2 years being constantly with my baby and my family. But also it was beneficial for me to understand how psychedelic work and how they can help people, especially from my faith and from my culture.
Mhm.
So this was the main question that led me just want to try for the first time.
Wow. And in, the way you describe it, you started the conversation talking about that video of your aunt taking care of you. Even the opportunity that you had and was presented to you feels very supported. It was your supervisor and it was in the context of your research and the curiosity that you hold. Like it feels very contained and supported in that same
Exactly.
way. Mm.
Yes, maybe if it wasn't like this, because I could like tell my family that I'm going, and I have the support of the university,
Mm.
and it was good because my supervisor had visited the place and like confirmed that they know what they're doing. So I was feeling safe, and it
Mm.
meant a lot for me that I was experiencing psychedelic or any type of, let's say, like drugs or substances, because I'm not smoking. I don't have any experience with alcohol or any kind of substance. But yeah, it meant a lot that I had this kind of support.
That's beautiful. And so, how did you prepare for that first experience?
I was very anxious at the beginning. I was very also curious. So I was very worried because I wanted to see if I'm actually in control or not, if it would be intoxicating for me, and to what extent I'm in control of my thoughts and my emotions. And I just wanted to know if I'm going to be out of my mind in a bad way, like harmful way or not. And so I talked with the facilitators, and I was worried about the situation with my fit because it's very important for me to be in a space that, like, there are other women there to support me. And I said that I want no touching from the men in the room, and like I want me women to like take care of me and take care of my hijab during experiences. I wanted to be me and commit to what I believe also during that experience. So they were very kind and supportive of that. And it was actually very good. They were more worried about my situation more than me. So they constantly reminded me, how do you feel? Are you okay? Do you want us to like cover you or do anything for you to feel more comfortable?
So you
I
were
don't.
nervous, yeah. So you were
Oh
sort of
yeah, yeah.
nervous going in, but You
Mhm.
were very well taken care of in the
Yes,
experience.
and I was prepared. I had my pen and paper, and I was ready to just write down anything to comes to my mind. So,
Did you
yes.
write things down? Often we have
Oh,
our pen and paper, but then
Oh, yes, I did, and everyone was so curious on what I'm writing because I'm constantly writing, and people can't really do that. Often,
yeah, that's impressive.
I've heard. Yeah. I think because I was very worried and I wanted to be in control. So maybe that first experience gave me the chance to be that and just feel like everything is safe and you can be whatever you want to be, but experience this. I felt very welcomed by the mushroom actually. I felt that it respected my identity and my culture. But after the first experience, my second experience, because I was more open and I was done with being cautious and worried. So my experience was very different the next time. Uh,
Mm.
mm,
That happened just a couple days later?
yes,
Mhm,
like 2 days later.
mhm.
Mm.
And do you think of them as a joint experience?
Yes, I think they together are a complete experience, first experience, I would say for me,
Mhm,
because they were very different, not only in terms of the content, but the emotional capacity and also very different experiences in every way, I would say.
mm. What were the main lessons from your first experience?
Mhm. So, for the first experience, as I mentioned, I was just curious about the underlying mechanism of psychedelics and how they would be helpful, how they work, and I was just wanted to know. I had lots of questions, and I tried to be open, but again, my mind was very curious to know what's going to happen. So at the
Mhm,
beginning, nothing really happened. I think for maybe 2 hours, and then I started like it gave me clarity of mind. It gave me I felt everything is bright and clear. I could go through my own thoughts and follow them without interruption and then reach the answer myself. I didn't feel anything from outside is affecting me. I felt like
mm,
I lived the sentence of "you are the medicine," and I could feel it. I can be this medicine with the help of mushroom, of course, but this is me that I'm doing the work. And before that, I couldn't because all of the unnecessary burdens that I'm carrying with me. That's why I was writing stuff. I was writing questions, and then I was going through question and answers to find the ultimate answer of who are you, asking the medicine, and who am I, and what I'm doing here.
wow. Those are big questions.
Oh, yeah. And so, other than that, other than understanding how psychedelic is making me more open to new experiences and new perspectives and new ideas, and maybe that's how it can help people to heal. Other than that, I felt like my previous experiences and my identity and what I went through, it matters. And it means something that is important and makes me special in a way that I can, like, I can use those information and those trainings, for example, about Sufism, about Islam, about Iranian culture, and about Western education also, because I was doing my PhD in Canada. So all of that, all of the training and education, I felt that they are connected and they are meaningful to what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And so I felt good because at some point in my life, I was just wondering if what I did mattered or what I'm doing with my life. Why did I do that? Why did I chose different majors for my study? Is it all the different thoughts that sometimes you think that your life is useless and you're not doing anything. But I feel like there's a point in my life.
Wow. That's so validating.
Mhm. So my second experience was more emotional. So I went through a spectrum of emotions. I went through sorrow and sadness and fear and paranoia and then happiness and joy, and I had some fun at the very end. But it was very tough physically at the beginning. I just wanted to go home and be with my family, and I felt like why I'm here, why uh, everything is a fraud, and and that felt awful. And I just wanted it to be over. But after that, and I talked to one of the facilitators, and she was a nurse, and she said, just go through with your experience and know that you are safe and it will be over in a few hours. And it gave me the courage to just relax and go through the next phase, which was like extreme and intense crying and just feeling all the sorrow within the room for all the trauma for other people in our group, and also for my ancestors, from even my own family, my grandmother, many people in my family, my cousins, and many people that I didn't know, but I knew that they're connected and we're family, but they died even before when I was born. And I felt like connected with people in Africa. I don't know why. Maybe obviously all of us are coming from that continent, but also from like Muslim people and what they went through history. So yeah, I had a very intense emotional experience at that moment, and then everything changed, and I felt like okay, I was carrying this burden and this sadness and this all this trauma, generational trauma, maybe with me all these years, and but this is not for me to carry, and I can just let them go and everything is okay and they're going through this, but there's a purpose and there's a meaning to all this. And I was more relaxed, and I was understanding it, the meaning behind it. I was feeling why they're going through that, why I'm going through what I'm going through. And then it was joyful. I actually experienced many things that I wished when I was a child or a teenager. I was at Hogwarts at some point.
Hmm.
Uh, so all the fantasy that I was a fan of at some point in my life, I was like walking beside a river, and different kind of relaxing experiences and fun experiences. It was very interesting. At the very end, I felt like very relaxed, and I felt very comfortable in my own body, which after giving birth wasn't something that very common for me or very usual for me to experience. So yeah,
Wow.
very meaningful for me.
Such a contrast between
Mhm,
the two experiences.
mhm. Yeah, it was very intellectual and maybe just to satisfy my curious mind. And the next one was more like just help me to go through my own trauma and in life. So yeah.
Yes, the observer could sit back
Hmm.
and you could experience and not just observe, perhaps.
Hmm.
And that experience contained everything, it sounds like.
Yeah. Maybe I was hoping that I have some kind of a spiritual experience, but that was a lot to take in for a journey, and I was exhausted. So maybe next time.
I mean, to be honest, that sounds like a very spiritual experience. Ancestral trauma, dealing with and feeling the pain and grief of a world of lived experience. Wow. Yeah, so I know you have to run, Manzar, so we'll end it there. But I want to thank you so, so much. If you could leave people with one piece of advice, if they were to go and take psychedelics and have a journey, what's one piece of advice that you would give based on your experience?
I would say once a person told me that just listen to what the medicine has to tell you because it's the teacher and you're the student. And it's very important to be open to whatever it has for you. It's very difficult to be that receptive, but it's important to just respect the medicine and respect whatever it has for you as a person, because for everyone is different. Every journey is different, and also it would be your experience would be something, yeah, that you will need, not specifically something that you want. Everyone always said that, but I didn't believe it until I experienced it.
That's very well put. Thank you so much, Manzar, for speaking with me today and for sharing your psychedelic experience. It was really profound and really meaningful to hear this from you. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for having me, and I hope my experience can help people, especially Muslims, to just think about uh, psychedelics as a potential, as a therapeutic medicine. Maybe it has something to tell them also.
Wonderful. Thank you again.
Thank you.